Hello everyone, welcome to this video. I am Sonali Dehuri and in this video we are going to learn about lesson plans. So these are the contents: introduction, essential features, advantages, HERBARTIAN approach, and at last references. So let's see what is lesson plan. First, it is a roadmap. So a lesson plan is a roadmap because a teacher creates it to structure daily activities in their classrooms. It outlines what students will learn during each class period and how the lesson will be taught and how students' progress will be measured. So a lesson plan is a teacher's plan for teaching a lesson. It can exist in the teacher's mind, on the back of an envelope, or on any or one or more beautifully formatted sheets of A4 paper. Its purpose is to outline the program for a single lesson. That's why it's called a lesson plan. It helps the teacher in both planning and executing the lesson, and it helps the student to know by ensuring that they receive an actual lesson with a beginning and a middle and an end that aims to help them learn some specific things that they did not know at the beginning of the lesson. So to summarize, in a very basic terms, a lesson plan is the teacher's guide for running a particular lesson, and it includes the goal, what the students are supposed to learn, how the goal will be reached, the methods, procedure, and way of measuring how well the goal was reached, test, worksheet, homework, etc. So now let's see what are the essential features of lesson plan. It should be written. A lesson plan preferably be written and should not remain at the oral or mental stage. The teacher strongly advises, at least in the early stages, to make a written note of his preparation. Writing helps in clarifying thoughts and concentration. Second is it should have clear aims. So the lesson plan should mention clearly its objectives, whether it's general objective or specific objectives. Third one is it should be linked with previous knowledge. So the lesson plan should not let the lesson remain an isolated one. It should have its basis on the background of the class. It should grow out of what the pupil have already learned. Then the next one is it should show techniques of teaching. It should state clearly the various steps that the teacher is going to take and also various questions that he will ask. It should show the illustrative aids. So the lesson plan should contain illustrative aids, and this illustrative aids is used to be shown in the lesson plans. It should contain suitable subject matter. So the matter of instruction or subjective matter should be carefully selected or organized. It should be divided into units. The plan should be divided into units, but care should be taken to see that the lesson remains in an integrated whole and every unit develops from the previous and submerged into the next. It should provide for activity. The children must be given enough scope to be active. It should not make them mere passive listeners. It should provide for individual differences. So the plan should be prepared in such a way as it does full justice to all the students of varied abilities. It should show certain routine things. The plan should indicate the duration of the period itself, and average age of the students, subject, and the class. It should be flexible. The plan is a means and not an end. It is wrong to follow it slavishly. It is an instrument and should be used as such. The teacher should be prepared to change his teaching methods from those as preferred to in the plan if need be. It should include the summary. The lesson plan should include the summary of the whole lesson which is to be developed on the blackboard with the help of students. It should prefer to reference material. The plans become more useful if it refers to other reading material. This will motivate the bright students to do extra reading. Care should be taken to suggest only that material which is available in the school library. It should include assignment for students. A good lesson plan cannot be thought of without appropriate assignment for the students. So assignment can take different forms too. It should provide for self-evaluation. A good lesson plan must have suitable plan for self-criticism. The teacher should put some questions to himself and find out the answer and thereby judge the effectiveness of the lesson or otherwise. So now let's see what are the advantages of lesson planning. The lesson plan affects the teacher's skill, intelligence, ability and his personality too. So now let's discuss what are the advantages of lesson planning. It delimits the field of work of the teacher as well as of the students and provide a definite objective for each day work. As the goal is determined, teacher will realize his goals. It tends to prevent wandering from the subject and going off the way. It serves as a check on the possible wastage of time, energy of the teacher and student. It makes teaching systematic, orderly and economical. Planning helps the teacher to organize and systemize the learning process. The activity in the lesson are well made, interconnected and associated. The continuity of the educative process is ensured. Planning helps to avoid needless repetition. Planning helps the teacher to overcome the feeling of nervousness and insecurity. It gives him confidence to face the class. Then lesson planning gives opportunities to the teacher to think out new ways and means of making the lesson interesting and to introduce thought-provoking questions. Lesson planning enables the teacher to link the new knowledge with the previous knowledge acquired by students. Lesson planning ensures a proper connection of new lesson with the previous lesson. It also ensures a definite assignment for class and availability of adequate material for the lesson. Lesson planning also enables the teacher to prepare a suitable scheme of selection and organization of subject matters, materials, and activities. It enables the teacher to prepare pivotal questions and illustrations, and it makes it possible to provide for individual differences in pupils. It also enables the teacher to provide for suitable summaries, and it provides for an adequate checking of the outcomes of instructions. At last, lesson planning helps the teacher as well as the taught in fixing new material by making adequate provision for drill work, practice, and revision. So now let's see approaches of lesson planning. So there are various approaches for designing the lesson planning, and some important approaches are like the Herbert approach, evaluation approach, John Dewey and Kilpatrick approach, and Morrison approach. So further we are going to discuss about the Herbert approach. So now let's see Herbartian approach. John Frederick Herbert gave this approach. So John Frederick Herbert was a great European science educationist and philosopher of 19th century. He advocated that teaching should be planned activity and if we intend to make it efficient, he applied the knowledge of psychology regarding the learning process. The Herbartian approach is based on apperceptive mass theory of learning. The main thing in that theory is that the learner is like a clean slate and all the knowledge is given from outside. If knowledge is imparted by linking with the odd knowledge of the student, it is acquired easily and is retained for a longer period. The content should be presented into units and those units should be arranged in a logical sequence. Based upon educational psychology, Herbert's educational ideology advocated the following four elements for a successful teaching. First is interest. So the teaching process should be interesting. When the interest of pupils is created in some subject, their attention is attracted towards it. They acquire the new knowledge very easily. Then apperception. The entire knowledge is provided to the pupils from outside. Apperception of this external knowledge occurs in the unconscious mind of the pupils. By relating new knowledge to the previous knowledge of the pupils, their learning is simplified. Hence, in order to make the learning process effective, the teacher should move from known to unknown. Then, general method. Learning activity occurs in a definite sequence. Hence, the activity of the unit should be edited in a definite sequence and in a logical order. Then correlation. So knowledge is one unit and all the subjects should be studied after correlating each other in the form of one unit. All the subject of the curriculum should be taught by correlating them with history. So now let's the steps of teaching approach. First is clarity. In clarity, the teacher should present the subject matter with clarity. The subject matter to be taught is broken into various facts so that pupils pay attention to each fact or element. Then association. The new knowledge of the pupils is related to their previous knowledge. System. New knowledge or thought should be organized in sequence on the basis of logic. The specific separated from the generals which may enable the pupils to view the mutual relation between various facts or elements so that they may gain the knowledge of the whole. Then method. The pupils apply the gained knowledge to the new situations. So now let's see Herbartian 5 steps or revised Herbartian model. While Herbert emphasizes only 4 steps, his followers modified four steps. Zeller, a disciple of Herbert, divided the first step, that is clarity, into two, that is introduction and presentation. Then Ryan incorporated one more steps termed as statement of aims in between these two. Still other disciplines of Herbert changed the name of other 3 steps. The term comparison was used in place of association, generalization in place of system, and application in place of method. Thus resulted 5 steps in place of 4. So these 5 steps are termed as Herbartian 5 steps of teaching. Now elements or steps for preparing Herbartian lesson plan. Different scholars and educationists have suggested various steps of lesson plan, but Herbert's steps of lesson plan are believed to be most scientific. A lesson plan based on these steps is called Herbartian lesson plan. According to this approach, there are 6 steps of lesson planning, and these are preparation, presentation, association or comparison, generalization, application, and then recapitulation. So now let's discuss those steps briefly. First, knowledge. Under knowledge, the first step is preparation. The first step of lesson planning is preparation of the lesson. At this step, the teacher plans for what is to be taught in the class, what teaching aid or material would be used for teaching, which method would be used for teaching, and all. There are certain classroom activities which are to be done before starting the classroom teaching, and these are formation of objectives, previous knowledge testing, and then announcement of the topic. In previous knowledge testing, the teacher asks varied questions from the student for checking their previous knowledge. Some questions are asked from the pupils in order to test their previous knowledge so that curiosity may arouse in them for learning of new knowledge. By testing their previous experiences, the pupils are prepared for acquiring new knowledge. Then announcement of the topic. After checking the previous knowledge, here the topic becomes clear to the pupil and the teacher himself is supposed to write the topic on the blackboard in clear words. Then the second step is presentation. It is the central part of the teaching process. At this step, the teacher teaches the student certain topic or lesson. He uses various teaching methods and teaching material or aid for this. He keeps into mind the principles of psychology such as going from concrete to abstract and from general to specific. He comes to the level of the student for explaining different concepts, topics and lessons. The lesson is developed with the cooperation of the pupils. Opportunities are provided to pupils to learn themselves by stimulating their mental activity. The teacher tries to receive most of the points from the pupils by questioning so that the new knowledge may get related to the previous knowledge. Then, under understanding, the first point, that is the third one, is association or comparison. At this step, the teacher associates and relates the previous knowledge of the students with the topics which is being taught in the class. The teacher also relates his subject topic with topic of other subjects. Thus, the students get a thorough knowledge and understanding of the topics which is being taught. He learns to identify the subjects, lesson, and concept not in isolated form but as integrated and interrelated identities. In this, the facts, events, and applications taught are related mutually by comparison to enable the pupils to understand the taught material. The teacher establishes a relationship between two subjects and also between the fact and the events of one subject and the facts and events of the other subject. He compares so that the new knowledge may get stabilized and clarified in the mind of the pupil. Then the fourth step is generalization. Generalization means to view a similarity in same kind of activities and concept. At this level of teaching process, the teacher explains and excites the student to generalize the concept, examples and activities and arrive at concluding statement. Herbert termed these steps as system. After explaining the main lesson, the pupils are provided with opportunities to think. They formulate such principles and rules which may be used in various situations of the future life. Then under application, the fifth one is application. At this step, the teacher tells the student about the use of application of topic or concept which is taught in the class. At this step, the students learn to apply the concept or topic in everyday life. For this, the teacher can suggest such activities, actions, and questions in which the concept or the topic will be practically implicated. In application, it is observed whether the acquired knowledge may be applied to the new situations. The teacher verifies this by asking recapitulate questions or by providing opportunities to apply the acquired knowledge in the new saturations. This stabilizes the new knowledge and validity of the rules may also be proved. Then the last one, which is the sixth step, is recapitulations. This is the last but very important step of lesson planning. In this, the teacher asks questions from the students in order to evaluate his own teaching work. Teacher also provides appropriate reinforcement to the student at this step. This step and teaching process both end with assigning homeworks to the student. So these are the contents. Thank you.